Hi, welcome to my home. Let's talk a little more about what you just read, this poetic mode of education. It's really not that complicated, and it's just we miss it. We've been separated from nature, from our surroundings and natural surroundings, God's creation. And this is what John Senior. John Senior, I talked a month or two ago about Restoration of Christian Culture book that he wrote back in the 70s or 80s. Anyway, he was a professor at the University of Kansas, and he started this course of education that was is so important. It only lasted 7 years because he had so many converts. He had over 200 Protestants and non-Christians who became Catholic. And out of over those 200, they had many became religious. Even started a monastery, Clear Creek Monastery in Oklahoma. They had 7 or 8 monks, men from this university that went to France, at this monastery in France, traditional monastery with a Latin Mass. And that was back in the 70s and 80s. Anyway, and they stayed there for 25 years or more, most of them becoming priests. And they came back in 1999, in the year 2000, and they opened up a monastery, started a monastery in Oklahoma, around Tulsa. I've been there several times and met the abbot. In fact, the abbot came and visited me one time into Alabama, Abbot Anderson. Also, they have vocations of priesthood, and 2 of the priests that went to this class, one of them for sure, he was non-Catholic, and he became a Catholic, this man, and now he's bishop of Lincoln, Nebraska, and that's where they're getting all those vocations, and the church is so strong there. So there's something about this form of education, and I want to go into one little area that he saw that we had and we was doing here, not just here, but most of our lifetime. We integrated my children. Our children grew up doing some farm life. Even when we lived in Louisiana, we only had an acre or so, but we had some goats that we milked, and gardens that we had, and woodworking. My oldest son started working with carpentry in high school, learning how to build a house and do stuff like that. It's the idea of crafts that you get your children, girls. My girls would do sewing. They learned that. My 4 daughters made their own wedding gowns, and but to initiate skills that they're using their hands, their eyes, and their ears, creating, sewing, embroidering, weaving, baking, cooking, handling babies, natural things, things that God created, things that we can do to create with God. It's so important for these kids, for their mind to develop, so that when these higher forms of learning, the great books or whatever that come into their life, the lives of the saints, it goes in deeper. They relate because they've been around God's creation. They've been around God's creation and creating themselves, doing themselves. Over here, since we moved to Alabama from Louisiana, when I had my farm, which is about an hour away from where I live now in my log home, but we had a barn with a hayloft, and the children would play in the hay. They'd help bale hay, they'd help stack hay, the boys, but they love to get up in the hayloft. In fact, since we're here now in Alabama, on this homestead, we're getting ready to build another barn, a hay barn. In a barn we're going to raise sheep, and even if your children are in the school system, they need to be doing hands-on things. My grandkids and my children, who are now grown up, but they got into music, and some of my grandkids play very professional. They've invited to all kind of concerts and competition, and it's part of what we do is to develop the whole person, the whole child, into someone that's creative. We're going to have a hay barn here, barn in there. We're going to have a stage and a wooden floor in the barn where they can have square dancing. The kids can get up there and play music and have little concerts. And on part of the land we had for several years, we grew potatoes. The kids just learned how to cut potatoes and put them in the ground, cut the eye off the potato and put it in the ground, plant it, and then see the plant come up. and then get out there. Either I was using my plow or my tractor or with shovels. They would dig up potatoes. And they were all out there barefooted, digging into the ground and coming up with these red potatoes or these sweet potatoes. That's what he's talking about, this poetic education. It's that we're dealing in God's creation. We're dealing with nature, the beauty of it. We go walking in the woods. We have a small forest around us, and they go walking in there. One of my sons went out and actually cut trees in the forest some years ago here where we live. We had a good piece, large piece of land, and he cut pine trees and he built a log home using an axe to hand-hewn the logs to square off the sides. I have another son building right now. He put him up a little sawmill, and he's timbering land, pines, and making lumber for the outside of his house, the siding of his home. It's this kind of stuff that some of it you can do, some of it you can't do. I know that, but it's wherever you're at, whatever you do, try to get your children to raise a few chickens, have a little garden. The girls to do sewing, learn how to sew, learn how to embroider, learn creativity, to develop your mind, your senses, so that as we go, we're going to talk more about this, because this man that I met, I don't want to use his name right now, but tremendous mind, and he came across this stuff over the years, and he's starting to develop it with stuff that John Senior wrote. John Senior wrote a book on educating high school students, but it never was published. And so, but he got a copy of it. He visited Clear Creek Monastery. He even gave a talk to the monks about his finding and the stuff that he knows. But it changes us. It's hard not to have children to watch some TV or to do some electronic games and all this, but the more they do that, the more it's going to be hard for them to have the concept of the beauty of our faith and the depth of it, so that when they're going to be challenged with this world is going to challenge our young kids, my grandkids and my kids too, but more and more it's going to be more challenged of our faith. We need to have the depth of this understanding, this relationship with God through creation and being a creator. And I hope this kind of introduced a little bit. Restoration of Christian Culture by John Senior. I recommend the book to be read. And then this man, this professor in New Jersey, him and I is going to do something, I think they call it Skype, where we're going to have a program. I'm going to interview him, and we're going to have a discussion, and we're going to start playing this to you or to whoever wants to watch it, to try to help, whether our kids are in the school system or if we're homeschooling. It's easier when you homeschool, but if they can still implement some of these ideas, things that are natural to your children, so that they can grow up as a complete mind, complete person that is ready to absorb the beauty of God and heaven and eternity and our soul and our spirit. Hey, I talked too long. I just wanted to make it short. We'll hope to talk to you soon. God bless you. Bye-bye.